Thompson part in its entirety, and he made it very clear. They have reliable sources around the league, and those sources are hearing the fever are out on Caitlin Clark. That's what they're hearing. There's been a lot of fire around Caitlin Clark being moved somewhere. The LA Sparks has been brought up. Michael Thompson also said the following. Here's a clip about the fact that it seems like the team purposely or for what...
The masks are finally coming off, and the truth about what is happening in Indiana is far uglier than anyone dared to imagine. Stephanie White believed she could keep the internal chaos hidden, but that silence has now shattered in the most public way possible. Reliable sources have confirmed the unthinkable. The Fever may already be searching for a way out of the Caitlin Clark era. This is not just a slow start or a normal learning curve. It is being described as the systematic dismantling of a generational talent. The league is now in complete shock as the reality of the situation spreads across social media, leaving the coaching staff with nowhere left to hide. Basketball's golden girl is being treated like an afterthought, and the backlash is only beginning.
This guy writing hit pieces. What's going on? All of a sudden, we got hit pieces. We got hit pieces coming out about Caitlin Clark ignoring Ty Harris on a high five. They're losing. Caitlin Clark's got razor focused, but now all of a sudden she's purposely shooing away her teammate. She's ignoring her teammate. I don't buy that. Call me crazy. I don't buy it. Let's start here. Michael Thompson.
The firestorm began when NBA legend Michael Thompson went on the record with a claim that sent shockwaves through the sports world. He did not simply suggest there were growing pains. He revealed that sources inside the league believe the Fever are already losing faith in their rookie sensation. Imagine drafting a player who shattered records throughout college basketball, only to decide after 11 games that she no longer fits the team's identity. Shannon Sharpe and several major media voices have now amplified the narrative, exposing claims that the coaching staff is attempting to force a generational talent into a system that does not suit her strengths. They did not just bring her in to lead. They brought her in to conform, and the strategy appears to be backfiring in spectacular fashion.
About the fact that it seems like the team purposely or for whatever reason does not want to use Caitlin Clark in the manner that she needs to be used. Like what was the purpose? And one of the things he said is basically they drafted an all-world talent just to try to make her a plain old run-of-the-mill point guard. Crazy. Michael Thompson.
This in any sport, it'd be like taking...
What makes this situation even more disturbing is the way Stephanie White is reportedly handling the X's and O's on the court. Thompson compared it to taking away Serena Williams' legendary serve or telling Shohei Ohtani he is only allowed to hit singles. It is being viewed as a complete betrayal of the talent that was promised to fans in Indiana, especially by limiting Clark's deep-range shooting and transition playmaking abilities. The coaching staff is effectively stripping away her greatest strengths, trying to turn a once-in-a-generation talent into an ordinary point guard who simply fades into the background. This is no longer being criticized as just a flawed strategy. Many now see it as a damaging approach to a career that was expected to transform the league forever. The numbers do not lie, and the reality of the situation is beginning to show on the scoreboard. If the Fever lose their next game, they will fall well below .500 after just 11 games, raising even more questions about the direction of the team. Yet much of the mainstream media continues to act as if everything is perfectly fine. Veteran journalists, including Bill Plaschke, have been accused by critics of publishing harsh takes that portray Clark as selfish and spoiled rather than acknowledging the pressure surrounding her rookie season. Supporters believe there's a growing effort to tear down a young star who has done nothing but succeed at every level of the sport. Many fans are now asking why a longtime Los Angeles Times columnist appears so focused on turning a rookie into a villain, and the narrative has become so intense that even casual viewers are beginning to question what is really happening behind the scenes.
Entitled, spoiled, coddled. The title of the article is, quote, "Whiny Caitlin Clark's tired antics needs to end." It was the very definition, folks, of a hit piece. Kind of strange what's going on. New York Post, Caitlin Clark appears to snub Fever teammate in awkward shoulder pat moment. And here it is.
Many fans believe there's a deeper undercurrent to this story involving the internal politics surrounding the WNBA. Critics argue that Clark entered the league focused only on basketball and winning games, refusing to get caught up in the narratives and expectations that often dominate public discussion. Instead of fully embracing the attention and excitement she brought to the league, some believe there's been an unusual level of hostility directed toward her from certain media voices and online circles. The backlash has continued to grow because Clark remains focused on competing rather than feeding into controversy. Supporters say many people expected her to come across as entitled or overly protected, but instead she has stayed locked in on the game, which has only intensified the debate surrounding her rapid rise in popularity.
You think if Caitlin Clark signed with Clutch Sports, with Rich Paul, with Maverick Carter right now, or Drew Rosenhaus, the agent would be calling up Amber Cox and Kelly Krauskopf. That agent would be getting in their ass right now. You know? And agents know how to put out fires too. That's what they do. That's why they get paid.
The misuse of her talent goes far beyond the playbook. It also involves the hierarchy within the team itself. Many believe the coaching staff has made Kelsey Mitchell the primary offensive option, leaving Clark in a secondary role that does not fully utilize her abilities. There is no disrespect toward Mitchell, who is widely regarded as an excellent player, but critics argue that you do not draft a franchise-changing talent like Clark simply to make her the third option in the offense. Supporters say this flawed vision of the roster is setting the team back before the season has even reached its midpoint. If Stephanie White truly believes this is the right direction, many fans fear it could become a career-defining mistake. After all, supporters did not pack arenas to watch a predictable, traditional offense. They came to witness a generational player transform the game.
Dub Hub, I think it was, earlier. And in Indiana, home games. It's the road games where people are paying money. Home games, for the foreseeable future, you can get in for like $11. And there's not a solitary game I looked at that's close to being sold out. If they keep losing and Stephanie White keeps using Caitlin Clark in the manner that she's using her, look for that to get worse.
Speaking of ticket sales, many believe the excitement surrounding Indiana could soon begin to fade. While road games featuring Clark continue to sell out at record prices, reports suggest some home game tickets have dropped as low as $11, a shocking decline for a team that was expected to become the hottest attraction in basketball. If the losses continue and the handling of the franchise star remains under heavy criticism, fans fear the atmosphere inside the arena could quickly change. The front office is playing with fire and ownership, led by Herb Simon, may eventually be forced to make major organizational changes. In professional sports, once the business side begins suffering because of coaching decisions and poor results on the court, that is usually when serious consequences start following behind the scenes.
And if she thinks that, and if Amber Cox thinks that, and Kelly Cross, Linda, they all should, Herb Simon should take a flamethrower to the whole front office. If I set them down one-on-one, and they all gave me the beat around the bush, this is not Caitlin's team, blah, 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 in no, in certain words, even if they didn't clearly say, this is Caitlin Clark's team, this is Caitlin Clark's team, we're building around Caitlin Clark, blah, 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 I'd be running every...
Rumors of a potential move to the Los Angeles Sparks are growing louder by the day, and many fans can understand why. Michael Thompson hinted that there is increasing speculation surrounding the idea of Clark joining a franchise that would fully embrace her superstar abilities rather than limiting them. For Indiana, losing a player widely viewed as the biggest draw in women's basketball would be considered a massive organizational failure, especially if the issue comes down to not properly building around her strengths. Reports and fan discussions suggest the Sparks could be prepared to create an entire system centered around her shooting and playmaking abilities, while critics believe the Fever are dangerously close to jeopardizing their future. At the same time, another controversy erupted online after clips surfaced allegedly showing Clark ignoring Tyasha Harris during a high-five moment. Some commentators used the footage to question her chemistry with teammates, but supporters argued it was simply a split-second interaction during an intense game. Many fans believe analyzing brief moments frame by frame just to create negative narratives around a player is a major stretch and another example of how heavily scrutinized Clark has become. Critics also believe parts of the mainstream sports media have become desperate to find any weakness in her image, constantly searching for moments that justify the negative narratives already surrounding her. Questions are even being raised about whether her representation has done enough to protect her brand and position within the organization. Some supporters argue that if she were represented by a powerhouse agency, the pressure on the front office and coaching staff would already be much greater. Comparisons to legends like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant continue because many fans believe generational talents should have systems built around their strengths, not be forced into limited roles. Critics argue that the coaching staff is trying to fit Clark into an outdated style instead of adapting to the fast-paced game that made her one of the most watched players in basketball history. Concerns about locker room tension and internal politics have only intensified as the losses continue, with supporters believing the organization has failed to fully establish Clark as the centerpiece of the franchise. Shannon Sharpe has been one of the few mainstream voices openly questioning the direction of the team, while fans continue to grow frustrated watching a player with enormous expectations appear hesitant and underutilized. Many now fear that if Indiana does not quickly change course, the franchise could lose not only games, but also the excitement, momentum, and fan support that Clark brought to the WNBA. The criticism is no longer coming from just a few media voices. Even the New York Post has joined the conversation, with critics accusing outlets of turning every small interaction into evidence of locker room drama. Supporters believe there is an ongoing effort to humble a player who has done nothing except elevate the visibility of women's basketball. They argue that the constant criticism says more about the discomfort surrounding her rapid rise than it does about her actual performance. Many fans feel the league desperately needed a new superstar to bring fresh attention and energy. Yet now that Clark has arrived, some traditional voices appear resistant to the change she represents. The mid-season coaching adjustments that were supposed to stabilize the team have only intensified concerns about how Clark is being used on the court. Commentators like Jason Whitlock and Michael Thompson have openly questioned the direction of the franchise, arguing that the explosive style of play that made Clark a phenomenon is now being restricted instead of embraced. Fans believe the organization is trying too hard to force her into an existing structure rather than building around the strengths that made her one of the biggest stars in basketball. Concerns about locker room politics and leadership have only grown stronger as losses continue to pile up, with many supporters believing the team has failed to fully establish Clark as the centerpiece of the franchise. Critics argue that every game in which she appears hesitant or underutilized only increases the frustration surrounding the team. Some even fear the situation is becoming toxic behind the scenes, especially as rumors connecting Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks continue to gain traction. Meanwhile, Shannon Sharpe has remained one of the few mainstream voices openly challenging the coaching decisions and questioning why a player viewed as a generational talent is not being given more freedom to dominate games. Supporters believe the organization's silence in response to constant media criticism has only made the backlash worse, creating the impression that the franchise is failing to fully support its biggest star. As frustration grows among fans, many now believe Indiana is at a crossroads. Either embrace the fast-paced style and superstar presence that Clark brings to the league, or risk losing the momentum, excitement, and fan support that transformed the Fever into one of the most talked-about teams in sports.